that really speaks to the hearts and minds of Americans because we know what Americans want, just a simple opportunity to live and thrive and to create the values that we have built this country on. If you work hard, you are successful. Mr. Speaker, the budgeteers on the majority side have a very poor track record when it comes to economic forecasts and projections. And let me also acknowledge the chairman of this committee for the work that he has done. We just happen to disagree. Ever since the Affordable Care Act was passed, it has been the challenge of Republicans to suggest that it wasn't working. We have close to 11 million people insured. Some populations who were never insured now have high numbers, citizens who are uninsured. And so the idea of the Affordable Care being a failure, you're just dead wrong. I am very glad to support the Democratic alternative because it is the opposite of the Republican budget, which says work harder for less. When we know what Americans need and what they want for their families, they want to be able to buy a home. They want to be able to send their kids to college, and they want a secure retirement. Under the GOP budget, it is harder to buy a home, absolutely almost impossible to send your children to college, and certainly harder to enjoy a secure retirement. House Republicans oppose increasing the minimum wage, claiming that it costs jobs. Wrong again. For every increase in the minimum wage has been accompanied by an expanding economy. House Republicans opposing comprehensive immigration reform. Wrong again. Studies conducted by groups as far apart as the Chamber of Commerce and AFL-CIO indicates that the gross domestic product will grow $1.5 trillion over 10 years. This is a sorry track record of economic forecasting, and therefore this budget is one that I have to oppose because it favors the wealthy over working class families and those struggling to enter or remain in the middle class. I oppose the Republican budget because it asks major sacrifices of seniors who can barely make ends meet, fundamentally alters the social contract by turning Medicaid and SNAP programs into a block grant and Medicare into a voucher. Mr. Speaker, it is clearly... 1 minute, maybe.
The gentlelady, another 30 seconds, if you need to.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
It is clearly not a working roadmap for success. If the House Republicans work harder to get less budget were adopted, here is a sample of the pain and misery that will be visited on working families. An end to higher education tax credits, end to needed increases in the child tax credit, the loss of access to tax credits of the affordable health care, a reduction in tax rates for the wealthy, yielding an average tax cut of $200,000 for millionaires, financed by a $2,000 tax increase on the typical working class family. Mr. Speaker, this price is not right budget will make it harder to get to the middle and working class parents to send their kids to college, ending these higher education tax credit and cutting student loan programs and Pell Grants.
Has expired.
I yield the gentlelady another 30 seconds.
As I close, let me thank the gentleman for his courtesy. Mr. Van Hollen is right. I've served on the Judiciary Committee. It's there that we deal with the problems, particularly under the Crime Subcommittee, at the end of someone's detour in life. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? Those detours in life that wind up with 75,000 persons in the federal prison system on mandatory minimums has been because people cannot read, they do not have opportunities, they do not have jobs. I want to invest in a budget that lifts the boats of all people, that if you work hard, you get a home. If you work hard, you can send your kids to school. If you work hard, you can retire. That's the budget I want to support, not the no success budget that is being proposed by Republican friends. I ask my colleagues to support the alternative budget along with the CPC and the CBC budget. I yield back.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized.